You're listening to the Local Earshot Podcast with your host, Johnathan Grissom. Let's talk about music.
Musicians. Why do we keep making music? Why do we play shows that don't make barely any money? I get asked this all the time by family members, ex-wives, girlfriends, the whole time. And what people need to understand is that this whole idea about being a rich and successful musician is a very new thing. This is something that's not even, 150, 200 years old at this point, where you could make a living playing music. Music is supposed to be for culture. It's supposed to be for self-expression. It was designed in the first place to tell a story, to walk around with a lute and make a tale, to express your love for God and your family and your church. That's what this is what it began as. It was a method to express something that we had a hard time saying or illustrating with words. It's a way to decorate silence. And once you get into that and realize that this is about culture and about storytelling and about, creating a collective group, you know what I mean? Even if you're at a death metal show, it's kind of like a church if you think about it. I mean, there's a bunch of people all like the same things, kind of have the same ideologies and beliefs, wear the same kind of black fucking t-shirts or whatever. That's a group, a gathering. It's to entertain and express the feelings of that gathering. When you're at a wedding, what do we have? Songs of joy, songs of love, songs that make us dance. That's what music's there for. That's why we make it. And yes, sometimes we're going to play shows that don't pay a whole shitload of money. But we feel the need to do it deep inside of us because that's our God-given ability to express ourselves, to show love to others, to show understanding of a culture. Now, that's the one thing I never understand is when people are like, well, why do you do it? Why does anyone do anything? Why do people design better cars? Why do people, build bridges to nowhere that cross a very small area that few people walk on? They do it because they want to. Because it expresses something, because it provides some kind of joy and maybe a little bit of utility for people. But keep in mind, this idea of you're going to be a rich rock star and be super successful, that's a very new thing that really didn't start popping and coming into place until maybe the 1940s. I mean, we're not that far. That's, World War I, World War II. There was not people making shitloads of money. Music was basically extortion for lesser beings by record labels when they were able to print materials that you could listen to music on. And you couldn't promote shows at huge stadiums and stuff like that back then. No, every show was a local show. So that's why we make music. It's for the culture and for us to express and enjoy ourselves with our friends.
Hello, everybody. This is Johnathan Grissom of More Bands Media and the Local Earshot Podcast. I'm here with Wilson, and this is a kind of a episode that we're doing. We don't have a guest this week, and so I decided to do a follow-up of what the company is doing and kind of what the podcast is actually about and what our goals are and a couple other things that we're going to go over today. And then also I'm going to play some music. I'm probably going to play some artists that are from the show. So I have a whole list of episodes I can look at. I can pull songs that were on those episodes. I can also look up the artists and see if they have anything new that I can play, because most of them gave me privilege to be able to play their music on any episode I want to. So, let's get started. Hello, Wilson.
Hello, John. How you been, man? What have you been up to?
Oh, man, I've just been working and doing this, trying to plan all this stuff. I started a radio station on here, but I got to get it all set up.
Started a radio station.
Yeah, More Bands Radio.
It's about fucking time, man.
Yeah, it only took like 3 years. Like 4 years.
I've been wondering, like, from just like a standpoint, I got to meet the guys from Rick and Brad. Rick, he actually directs movies on the side. I got to work with him when he was a director on a film that we did here, which I'm not going to promote because they left me off of the credits. Fuck you.
You're not bitter about that at all.
No, I'm not fucking bitter about it at all. Fuckers. No. But no, still, I think, looking back, I've heard Rick and Brad on the radio for like
Yeah, it was Rick and Brad in the morning.
Yeah.
And they used to do this one thing that I used to listen to every morning where they'd have these skits that they would do.
The Rick and Brad Theater.
Yeah, and Rick and Brad Theater was
Theater.
Hilarious. Like that there were some hilarious videos of that.
There was, and I think about skits like that all the time, and I know that's something that we've talked about before too, and it's definitely something that we'll get into. But I talked to Rick about it whenever I was on the set, and I said, man, you've been doing radio for however long, like, have you ever thought about just doing a podcast? And he said, well, you would think so, right? But like, we're known as the radio guys. Mm-hmm. Like, we are known for the radio show, and we can't actually have more than one show because of how things are run through the radio program. Kind of like if you work for
yeah, because the Cat does the Sunday band show,
right?
Which lists all the local bands and stuff. They submit their music to the website, and then they create a playlist, and then the Jay runs it, and he uploads all the music, and then he produces that show, and he does all the things. But he also does a podcast similar to mine, because a few years back he had messaged me and asked me what equipment I was using and like how I was doing about it, and then turned around and started basically a local music podcast for bands on the Cat with the backing of the Cat. Mm-hmm. So that was a kick, But I'm nothing against Jay. I'm glad that there's somebody else out there promoting bands the same way I am. I think that we both do a different style of show. So and his are very, very quick, like you were saying, timing, because they have to get in, get out real fast with their things, and so they don't. He doesn't have as much time to sit down with an artist as like I do, and so. But yeah, I mean, I've thought about going on that show just to have a talk about just music business, the business side of it.
And you should be able to. Like, I think that's the one thing about, this kind of free speech that we have, is that we can go talk with other people that do other shows. I love it when other hosts of different shows go on to other host shows. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't happen very often. Like, you never saw Conan O'Brien regularly be interviewed by like Jay Leno, or anything like that. But I think that it's worth looking into, because getting to hear other people's perspectives, they tell you about the show. I've seen other people do it too, and they go on a podcast, they're like, man, this is great, you should really think about taking this seriously. And it's like, well, we are taking it seriously, it's just taking a little bit of time to get off the ground. And he's like, no, man, if you did this, you did that, everything will work out. That person asking those questions ended up being Joe Rogan, ironically. There's a guy who was popular in the 90s. He had like a podcast that he was doing early on, forgetting his name. But that's usually just how it happens. I'm really glad that we're getting to take this time to kind of record a little bit here. I know that this is going to be like one of our shorter episodes.
Yeah, I mean, the music cutout will probably be about 30-40 minutes, so it's going to be a little longer than a normal episode, but it's going to be all music. So
right.
I usually don't know if I'll cut in with like the normal recordings where I just say like, hey, like, the next band or whatever. What I did on one of the episodes, and one of my friends said it was kind of a cool way. I learned that XM Radio, they have an audio voice that they use, like a female voice that says like a name of a band, and then they say like the name of the song, and then they just do it. So I did one episode where I used an AI audio thing where you could just put in the name and then it would just read what you said. And so I was able to do that for every single band. Wow. So then I was able to just plug them into there right before the song, so I didn't have to sit there and listen to a song, or I have to plug in the name of the band and the song throughout the episode. Usually if I only have a few bands that I'm going over, I'll we would just talk about the band and the shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But this is one of those like just kind of a off the cuff episodes where we're just kind of getting together because I didn't do an episode last week, and the reason why was because my booking fell through. That's another issue that I'm running into, is booking artists to come on the show. It's not that it's hard booking, it's that like I think that bands are busy and it's hard to find time for those things. But I feel like that if a band wants to be successful in this career, then the reason why that was, I kind of feed the opportunity for them to come speak and kind of show their music and their talent and stuff. If people don't like their music, hey, there's another episode next week. Like it's usually a net positive throughout the whole year that people will like the majority of the bands that they hear on the show. There is bands that have been on my list, and I won't mention them because I'm respectful in this way, but there is bands that have been blacklisted for me, and I would not work with them, I would not talk to them, I would not help them with their career, and it's because of their disrespect inside the industry, the disrespect of people among the scene, the disrespect of me and other people. I just don't care what happens to them in their career. So, but the majority of the artists I do want to work with, and I do want to help them, and I do want to grow their careers. So
yeah, and I gotta do like a little outspoken promo here. John is a really chill dude, like you are, man. Like, and you get along really well with just about everybody. So if you've been blacklisted from Johnathan Grissom's show for whatever fucking reason, it's probably because you're just that uncool. Like, I really don't have another way to put it. Like, and you hear a lot about a lot of different things. And I'm one of those guys where, like, I'll hear about somebody's backstory, hear about what they did. I'm not going to judge them until I'm, like, sitting right in front of them. Mm-hmm. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I'm an equal opportunity offender. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going to just sit around and, talk shit about everybody, because I don't think that that's fair. But John, being one of my really good friends, if he says, like, hey, don't fuck with this guy, I'm probably not going to fuck with you. That's usually how that goes. Like, yeah. And it's something that I can, have a lot of faith in. And I will say that, what we're doing here, what John's doing here, whenever we started this gig a hot minute ago, is only beneficial to other people. Like, so I got a story about this guy. I know he's a business guy, and he said that he used to make a lot more money back in the early 2000s, which who didn't, right? Between like the economy and everything like that. But he told me about how, he worked for this really great electronics company, and he was a salesman for the electronics company over in Midwest City. And all of a sudden, like he bought a house, he bought a car, he had 2 kids, he got married, all of it within like a short time frame, right? And then his boss dies. It was like a mom and pop owned shop for an electronics store. And whenever his son came into power, the owner's son, mm-hmm. after the boss had passed, the first thing that the son started doing was cut advertising. Cut marketing, start lowering commissions, started making it like a really shitty place to be. Like, everybody's there to make money, sure, but realistically, a lot of what locally owned companies try to do is just try to help you, and this is a locally owned company. Like, everything that John here has been doing for other people has really just been to help them kind of get a little bit further ahead in life. And like, between promoting shows, promoting songs, you were just telling me before we started recording, like, people have come up to you and been like, hey man, that song that you played on, that was really cool. Mm-hmm. Are they playing anywhere anytime soon? And that's part of the whole deal. If you're going to be so far as to like not be cool with John, it's really just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Like, a lot of what we do on here is for promotion of artists to help other people grow and get the kind of gigs that they need and to be in venues on a regular basis. I mean, dudes like Cotton, dude deserves to be in a lot more shows.
Yes.
He's a very talented individual.
Yeah, Megan Marlene. Yeah, I mean, she's an amazing country artist. I guess we call them country. Nikki Jackson, she kind of considers herself alternative. The Chainsaw Review Club, like whenever we just had them on, they deserve more. I'm just looking at the dates here. I was just curious after you said that it's been a hot minute. I looked down at the dates, and February 13th, 2021 is whenever we started doing this.
Really?
And if I could tell you how much money I've made and how much money I've invested into this, I maybe made about $200 in the last 4 years doing this on the show in donations, maybe. And equipment wise, I probably have about maybe $1,000 worth of equipment or $2,000 worth of equipment. Website wise, I pay for my domains every year. That costs me about, with all my More Bands domains and my business domains, and then my Local Earshot domain. There's like 2 or 3 of those, because there's Local Earshot Podcast and there's Local Earshot. And so that stuff collectively costs me, for hosting is $30 a month. And then everything else for the websites costs me $20 a domain, and there's about 10 of them. So it's costing me about $200 there. So, I mean, the show costs money. Like it's not something that I take lightly, because it does cost. And all these people try to simplify it and tell you that, oh yeah, it's just so easy. You just turn on your phone and you just start doing this work. They don't understand that creators, even on TikTok and stuff, they have really expensive equipment that they're using to create these videos. It may be that they're doing a TikTok video. Some people are using their phones, sure. Their phone is a $4,000 phone that they're making payments on. Like, it's not just a cheap product that they're buying. Like, they are literally making $100 payments on a phone to be able to do this, because you can't do this stuff with like a cheap crap. I mean, you can, but the quality is just not there for these high-end productions that people are doing on these channels and stuff.
I know, and we were just sitting here thinking about the creators of the TikTok channel called Subway Takes, where the dude has like these little microphones and attaches them to gift cards, and just it's like, so what's your take? And just talking to people on the subway on their way to work. Some of them are like popular individuals, some not so popular, but just like, to me, the people that aren't famous, that give their perspective, end up having like a lot to contribute. Talking about like, actually, last one I saw that I think that I sent you was the one from Mark Rebuilt, which I don't know if you've seen a lot of his music before.
I was about the video when the guy, I thought about putting that in this episode, the one video you sent me with the guy walking and just talking about doing music.
That is,
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually want to put that inside the end of this video.
Yes.
Or at least at the beginning. I think I'm going to put it at the beginning. And so I think if you're listening to this episode, you're going to listen to that part at the beginning. But it's just an opener. I'm gonna do a shout out to him, because I mean, he doesn't have a huge following, but he's out of LA, I guess.
I think so. Yeah. And everything that he was saying is 100% true. Yeah. Like that's something that I think everybody needs to hear.
Sometimes it costs more to do it. Like these bands, there's a joke with bands that like you're taking, $5,000 worth of equipment to get into a car that most bands usually don't have fancy cars. So you're getting in your little $1,000 hoopty to drive to a gig, and you're getting paid, $50 a night at a show, or not even that sometimes. And so like they literally are spending thousands of dollars on equipment to be able to do this stuff. A lot of them have loans out, or they have the credit cards out at Guitar Center. They do trades at Guitar Center to trade up so they can get their new guitar that they wanted. Some of them start out with some really cheap equipment, and then they grow from there. They go in and they'll trade up, and then they'll get that next guitar that they wanted, or they'll trade up, and then they'll end up with that $4,000 guitar, or they'll buy one used. And this is a shout out to like someone like Brad. He can make any guitar body. It doesn't matter, because it's all, he always says it's metal on metal. And if you give him a guitar and a body frame, of a crappy guitar, he could literally change out the parts in that thing with a couple $100 worth of parts that are higher end and make that guitar sound like a Gibson or sound like a high-end Fender. Like it's because it's the pickups, it's the equipment that's in it. It's not the wood. It's not the neck makes some of the difference, but even then you can change out the neck with like a higher end neck. So it's not, you can upgrade your equipment and you can do these things, but a lot of artists, they struggle with that, and a lot of quit because they don't have the equipment. They don't have the money for the equipment, and so that's a big factor. And so funding is a very important thing, which we were talking about before the show. How do you fund a project like this? And for a long time, I follow a news podcast, and it's about it's kind of a midway level of news. In other words, they're decrypting news. It's called No Agenda, and a lot of people, they like it or they don't, because it's either they're the type of people that they have to have everybody agree with them all the time, so they don't want any outside opinions that are outside of their world beliefs, because if they do, then they have a problem with it. Or there's those people that are open, which is the majority of listeners. Over 1 million people listen to the show a week, and twice a week. And it's because these people are more open, and this is the majority of the populations across the world, are open, independent people that just want to have independent thought, and they want to understand that, the media does lie, and the government does lie, and all these things. Well, they do a thing called value for value. Adam Curry, MTV, he did this thing, created value for value, and he was the creator of podcasting. It's called the Podfather is what they call him.
The Podfather.
Yeah, the Podfather. And the thing is that there's other people that claim to be the Podfather. He is the Podfather. If you go back and watch old videos, you'll find a video of him. And I mentioned this in the very beginning episode, which is crazy because, a lot of the stuff, we're literally a week after that, I think, right now. Was that 6 days? 6 days above that, 4 years that we've been doing this. And so whenever I mentioned that at the beginning, is that the reason why I chose value for value was because it's I want to offer value to them, and I still want to keep that idea alive in it, but at the same time I got to be able to make a living doing this if I want to keep on doing it. And so I'm coming up with ways that I can start doing other things for bands, and so I kind of want to grow the show and have bands come in and I'm losing my thought. Hold on. I got it.
No, it is.
But
this is also why we're talking right now about legalizing prostitution, so that way John can find a way to pay his bills.
No, but anyway, value for value is time, talent, and treasure. So your time in their show is like you listening to the show. That is your time. You spent it listening to our show, right? Treasure, our talent to me is the bands, but talent is also people that help run the show, do other things for the show. They could create artwork, they could help build flyers, they can help do street teaming, they can do anything for these bands that are connected to the show, where it actually helps the show grow, and then it also helps them do things to get involved in the community of the music industry. And that's kind of how I treat it. But then there's the other T, which is treasure, which is your donations. And it's again, I have certain people that donate all the time. It's the same people. They're literally helping me pay for things, and it might be as simple as just paying for my hosting account for that month or something, and that's great. That's totally, amazing that they do that, and I appreciate those people every episode, and so I call them producers, and it's the same way in No Agenda. They call them producers. You have your executive producers. They pay a certain amount. You have your other producers. I call them rock stars. So you have the Local Earshot rock stars, and these people have different levels. And so they'll have titles, and they can create a title for themselves. And if they come to an event or a show, which we do plan on doing in the future, I know I've been saying it for several years now, but I am actually getting to that point where we can. And so, they offer the ability to make these things happen, you know? And the thing is that, but you can't do it alone. The podcasts that really achieve and grow and the ones that actually become something, your Joe Rogans, your, you know, like those type of shows, which I know a lot of people that listen to the show probably don't even like him. I don't really like him that much. I'm not much of a fan of the show, but there's certain people that he's had on. Lex Friedman podcast, a lot of people don't like him either because of the people that he's had on. I like some of his guests. I don't care for the interviewer as much, but I do care about the guest, and I am interested in the subject matters that I'm watching those episodes. But the way that they fund their shows and their operations is through sponsorship, it's through affiliates, it's through reads, like all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of different ways to make money doing this stuff. And so, I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, what do you got to do to make it grow? And so I have to start looking at that as a, you know, like we said on the previous episode, this is a business and we will be treating it as such. But to me, it can be a fun business, and I can help bands build websites, which is what I'm starting to work on. I'm working on building a social media website. I've been working on it for years. And just ways that we can make a living doing it on the side with these bands, but to help their careers. And I mean, I have every document that a band needs to do publishing, marketing, any of that stuff. I can be the artist manager over a band. I've done it. I mean, it's not out of the realms of things that we can do to make this a real thing, you know, that grows in this scene in Oklahoma. And it is possible to grow this scene. I mean, there are certain people that are in it that, though they grow it, they help, that's fine. They're in it for themselves, that's fine. They're being selfish about it, but they're also growing the scene. So that's their thing. Let them do their thing, you know, but I'm going to keep on doing mine over here, and we're going to do our thing, and we're going to grow it from there. So, you know, that's kind of my whole little spiel about it. Kind of, I guess, because we had a whole list of questions that, you know, I don't know if you wanted to ask or if you were like, go about it.
No, this is something like, I got to tell you, I weep inside every time John talks about these kind of things, because if you guys could see, I think it's not really fair whenever you see certain shows and there's like combat scenes and they have like a big fight, whatever, you see like really powerful characters, where you don't see, or like all the cutscenes of like the training and all the work that went into it, you know, like in Dragon Ball, you kind of see that, like, it's the same story arc every time. Like, you come across a villain, can't beat the villain, you spend like a couple hundred episodes learning a new technique, learning how to fight to defeat this villain. Mm-hmm. And then they beat the villain, and then it starts all over again. Mm-hmm. A lot of shows do that. But the majority of shows aren't like that. You don't see what other people had to go through and what kind of training they had to do in order to get where they are. Part of what's so attractive about powerful things is that we know that they're powerful, mm-hmm. but we don't really see the amount of work that it's taken to get there. Mm-hmm. And there's like a lot of grinding, a lot of knowledge, a lot of networking, a lot of everything that goes into a show like this. And John has done a tremendous job. I don't even feel like it's really fair for me to be, you know, part of it most of the time, considering how much like you and Brad have carried on the show. You know, there's so much that you guys have done. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have, between like booking everybody.
I will be honest, I couldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Brad. I mean, like, you know, and I have a lot of respect for Brad, and I mean, and you know, and he wanted to do his own thing. We had our disagreements on conversation that we were doing during the show.
Sure.
We also had our disagreements of like who was being booked, who wasn't being booked, who was being ignored, you know, and it's like, okay, well, you know, and then I turn around and I interviewed. I did interviews after he left the show, and I got told by the members that they applied to be on the show before, but they just were basically kind of given the cold shoulder, so they didn't know if they were ever going to be on the show, and they wanted to be on the show. And I mean, I had them on, and they seemed to be really good artists and really passionate about what they're doing, and so, like, you know, they may not be the cup of tea for him, or, you know, or his group of friends or people that he knows, but the people I know, that's their cup of tea, that's their friends, that's their people, But I don't want to just keep on interviewing bands that are my friends, I reach out to my friends like, Wilson. I reach out to David, Cotton. I've had these people not only on the show as like guest, but I've had them on as host, and that's part of it too, is that I don't think that like I'm okay with hosting a show. That's not the problem. I'm not a frontline person. I'm not like the in the light type person. I really don't like it. But I do believe that certain people in this industry deserve a conversation with the artists that they promote and they work with, like Destiny from Diatribe, like her doing the interview with Anarchy for Assholes. Like, I would rather her interview punk bands than me, and the reason why is because I'm a metalhead rocker. Like, I listen to country, techno, I listen to EDM, I listen to all very heavy stuff, very low stuff, very calm stuff. I listen to classical music. I listen to everything basically. But do I know the ins and outs of every single punk band that exists, or every country artist that exists, or every rap hip hop artist that exists? No. But I have friends that do. And these individuals are in the scene too. They're working with those artists. And so whenever I see like, certain people online and stuff that I connect with and stuff that are in the promotion side or in the management side or the venue side or whatever, I love to bring them on to just be a host, because it will make it work better. It will do great for us, and it makes the show not boring, because when you have the same interviewer every time, people get kind of bored of it, and there's some podcasts that I'm just bored of the host, and so I kind of like to bring people in to be like, hey, you interview for a little while, ask them some questions you want to ask them,
And that's something where I'd be happy to interview a few more people too. I've done marketing and sales now for a good minute, and I'd be happy to be more in the spotlight of like getting to talk with a couple people. And I actually do have a few people that would like to be on the show. But just to clarify like what the show's about, we were actually talking a little bit before we got started here today and talking about like what is it that we do. And so John's always great about answering these questions, but just for those of you at home who haven't really been paying attention, what we do is like we like to interview artists and help get them the right kind of exposure. We're also really big about broadcasting their upcoming shows, what it is that they're doing and where they're playing at, if they're opening for somebody or if they're headlining. And another thing is like we like to showcase the music that they're doing, whether it's like a new hit that they've got or like a favorite song of theirs from albums past. We're usually pretty big on like promoting newer songs that they have, for sure. And there's nothing wrong. I think we did an episode a while back where it was just me and you, and we played like a song from a band that I know personally, and the song is like Whiskey Dick or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, we could play that on this one because we never put that episode out. That
right.
episode kind of is in the archive because the information that's in it is kind of some of it's relevant still, but some of it was talking about things that were coming up at the time, and so,
didn't actually,
and then it went past it because
we were like
some stuff
talking
happened.
about Catfest,
So.
but it's whatever. But like, I'm not against listening to older songs. A big part of what we do for artists is helping them promote their newer stuff, because that's a big part of, the relevancy of, what it is that they're doing. A big part of like who we are as the Local Earshot. I mean, John here is like the brains, the looks, and the brawn of like most of the show. Like, and I say that I was joking on paper whenever I was making notes, but like I know that Brad does a really good job hosting. And just like full disclosure, he did not think that he could do it at first. Like he was really nervous about it.
You can listen to the first episode.
Yeah, everybody's nervous when it comes to doing it at first, but he picked it up, and he's really good about asking questions, and he's good about keeping the conversation flowing, and he's fun and playful about it, and he's got a really good tone in his voice that I think is good for a host, which is something that like, so to kind of go back a little bit. I used to work for a company, and I was knocking on doors trying to do like roofing inspections. And I remember when I saw this guy, he was shirtless out in his garage, sweating, and he was working on a guitar. And I said, "Whoa, what's going on there?" And he like stormed out of his garage like, "Who the fuck are you? What the fuck do you want?" I'm like, "Hey man, listen, I want to ask you real quick, what are you working on?" And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, I wasn't trying to upset him. You know, a lot of people don't like it when somebody random knocks on their door that's uninvited. I get it. But Brad like took a second to show me the guitar that he was working on, brought me inside his house, showed me what it is that he had in mind. And not too long before I met him, I'd met John too. Like, this is the story of like how I met Brad. And Brad said that he wanted to see about doing a music podcast talking about not just like local music and everything, but like talking about like making guitars and like you know, what he does to customize his, was it the 13-step tone solutions, you know, in the beginning. And that's what it was really about. And it was really cool. And it just goes to show, like, you never know who you're going to meet on like a day-to-day basis, especially when you go out like looking to talk to people. And it's been really odd ever since. I never thought in a million years that not only the show would carry on as much as it has, but that so many people would. I've actually talked to a few people who are like, "Oh man, yeah, I actually do know about the Local Earshot." People that I've met just in passing have heard about it here in Oklahoma, and I think that it's incredible. You know, so for the amount of work that like John has put into this, the amount of like investment that he's made, I really want to see a lot of good things come to fruition with it, and I know that they will. I mean, something that we're really considering here is like, you know, the value for value system is awesome. I also get that we're not PBS. We haven't been on like the radio and TV for like 100 years or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it can be successful.
It can be, yeah.
I got to load all the videos to TikTok and all these different platforms. See, TikTok, but platforms change, and I kind of, at the beginning, if I would have done certain things at the beginning, it probably would have took off over the 3 years a lot more different than it did. But
Sure.
At the time, we didn't have the equipment, we didn't really have the money, we didn't really want to do those things at first, and we weren't fully comfortable with it yet. Like, neither one of us, me, Brad, or you, really. I mean, you're a film guy. You like to be behind the camera. You don't like to be in front of a camera. And it's the same with Brad. You know, like he's not big on being in front of cameras. Now, he'll get in front of a camera and he'll talk about guitars and stuff, because here's the thing. If you're talking about something you're passionate about, it doesn't matter if you have a camera in front of you or if you're just talking on the radio or if you're talking your voice. It doesn't matter, because if you're talking about something you care about, then you're going to be willing to do it. And so, I mean, now he makes pickups, but he'll show you how he winds them, and he shows you how he builds the guitars, and he works with was it Kaiser, like creating these beautiful guitars, custom guitars, and again, you know, you started out walking up to him on a thing, you know, and you know, the last time I saw Brad was at a event that was a charity event for something that we had brought Ron on years ago.
Yeah.
And we were talking to him, and he said, yeah, like, I just want to start a nonprofit that just gives instruments to people, to kids that need it in other countries and stuff, and here in America that can't afford instruments, but just give them the gift of music, you know? And I mean, he literally grew that. Like Ron Ramsey is amazing. Like he grew this massive group. He literally just went and like climbed Mountain Kilimanjaro, or however you say it. Kilimanjaro. Like, but he did it. You know, he had a goal in mind. That was the goal. And then he started creating this like rock opera thing. Like the things that he's doing is incredible. But it's like, but a lot of it. Mary Ellis came on the show. We recommended her, like I said on the previous episode, recommended her, call these people, see if you can go shoot one show. If they allow you to do it and you do a good job, become friends with the management there. Then you'll be able to, like, you know, but there, she's best friends with one of the managers of the woman that runs like the Diamond Ballroom and like all these big venues. She's now one of the most known photographers in Oklahoma. It started with a conversation of advice. That's all. It was just a simple conversation of like, well, how do I go about getting into this stuff? And it's like, and you know, we know the path. Most of us do. We just like, it's a matter of like, do people have the drive to keep going, or do they have the drive to do it? And I think that these people have it. You know, they have it. They have what, you know, when you meet somebody, you're like, they got it. Like Brad used to do that all the time. Like he'd be like, no, that artist, like he'd meet them, they'd walk out the door, we'd be sitting there doing our after conversation of the show, and he'd go, they have it. And 4 or 5 years later, band's still together, still growing across the country. There's bands that have been on the show that are in LA, you know, like Them Evils. A guy came on, you know, it was a remote, he was friends with them, did the interview. Them Evils is growing. They're following with Pop Evil, all these bigger bands. You know, Yoon is in a band. What is it? It called Nevermind the Embers. Nevermind the Embers are on major shows. What do you call it? The guy from Locust Grove. He is the drummer for Texas Hippie Coalition, and yet, like, you know, he's in this local band, Locust Grove. That's where they're from. It's Locust Grove, Oklahoma, and like, but they have it. They have this skill. They have this art to them as people, and they do it. They just do it, and that's kind of like I have my issues where, like, you know, I have ADHD from childhood. I have my problems, and I'm very open about these things because it's like, you know, my mind wanders sometimes. I kind of go on rants. You know,
Yeah, but it's also,
but
I think it's also a big superpower of yours, and I don't give you a lot of credit for that. Like your ability to bring people in and like come up with, you know, these kind of setups and everything. Like there's a lot of your ADHD that can be like attuned to the success of the show. And like I talked about Brad, as goofy as that motherfucker is, like he actually does have really good taste in music, and he knows good bands when he sees them, like you're talking about. And like he was giving me, like that first time that I met him, I probably spent more time with him than any other customer that I'd met whenever I first got with him. And we sat and talked for like an hour and a half. And usually that's my goal, is just to have a good conversation with somebody every day, you know. It's a little marketing trick I learned. But it wasn't even like a customer interaction. Like we were just talking about music, and he was telling me about all these different bands, and I'm like, yeah, I know that band. He's like, really? You look a little young to know that band. And I'm like, not much younger than you, man.
Yeah, I'm actually older than him, I think.
Yeah, he's just a little bit older than me. But Brad's just super cool, and he knows a lot about really good bands, and like and like there could even be something with the individual, and he's never like come to me and like talk shit about anybody that's been on the show or otherwise. But he can, like, even if he didn't like somebody, he can still tell if they've got it or not, if they're like talented or whatever. And, you know, I can't even tell you all the nice things that he said about you and all the good things that, you know, he's harped on for you about, for just the quality of the show. I know that there's been a lot of things that both of you have contributed that have kept it going for as long as it has, you know, and I think that that's awesome. Do we have any bands that we want to promote on this particular gig, or are we just kind of talking about ourselves here?
I mean, like, I'm going to create a playlist, and so I'll probably cut that in, and then I will try to do the whole, like I said, you know, just kind of tell what the band is, where they are. If I can look up, like, if I can have a good list going when I put this out, then I'll probably have a, you know, thing that says, like, you know, if they have shows coming up and stuff like that, you know, and everything. We'll probably look up some shows coming up. I mean, I could probably look it up right now.
Well, a big corner of what we were wanting to accomplish today was just kind of giving you guys like a overview of like who we are, what it is that we do, and the entirety of the show. You know, we don't really get a lot of chances to do something this interpersonal with the camera.
Yeah, I remember this one podcast I used to watch. It is a political one, so I won't even mention who it is. But the guy, there was an attack on his house. There was a video online, and everybody kind of like left the room, and the police came in, and there was people trying to kill him on his property because of his views. And he did an episode where he kind of laid it out on the line, and he basically said, like, look, this is who I am, and this is what we're doing, and we're not going to stop. We're not running from you. We're not going to let you intimidate us. And so it's like, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not going to let big record labels or big corporations intimidate me. Like, I will work every day to make sure that local independent artists are known and grow, because it seems like the larger industry is so corrupt and there's just so much going on right now that I would not want to be involved with any of those people, any of them, of who they became after they became famous and how they became grown like that. Because, I mean, like, most artists are not like that, you know, and you know who I'm talking about, you know. Most artists are not like these people, and they're a small percentage, and they're taking all the limelight away from all these people that deserve it. And honestly, I want to take it back, and I want these local artists to be seen. I don't care if they're from Oklahoma City. I don't care if they're from Texas. I don't care if they're from any state in the union. We work the region of Kansas, Texas, Arkansas, New Mexico, Colorado. I mean, that's the majority of the bands that reach out. I've had bands reach out for me from Norway that I did an interview with that lady. Look, these people are local. The word local just means you're local where you are.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yes, it's Oklahoma and beyond. That beyond part is very big, because it's like, I want these bands to not just be in Oklahoma. I want these bands to take off and actually go other places and grow and do, you know, their career, and then look back on it and go, you know, oh, the very first thing I ever did that was a podcast or a show or whatever was I was on the Local Earshot. And they'll be on an interview with the MTV, and they'll be like, well, what's that? Or at that point, they might be like, oh, shit, you were on that? And it would be like, well, yeah, but when I was on it, it was just two guys in a meeting room in some dude's house, you know, like, whereas now it's in like a, you know, a studio, and they run this big business, and it just promotes bands. Like, that's where I want to be. And so that's kind of what my goals are. And I've had to kind of recently had to really inwardly look into it and say, do I want to really keep doing this? And do I really want to, you know, be a part of this? I mean, you know, the Oklahoma scene, it has its ups and downs. I'm sure that they're all like that. I don't know,
everywhere.
I didn't get very deep into the Boise scene in Idaho when I lived there. I didn't really. I know the Denver scene. I got somewhat into it when I was working at Live Nation, but that was all big bands. And then, you know, and then got-based music. My buddy, he was one of our buddies was a promoter for them, and then my other buddy, Vasily, Chevy is what we call him, from the military. He was a photographer, and he would go shoot shows. And so at the time, I was in party mode. I was young. I was in college, having a good time. And so really, like, I don't think I was ready. I don't think I was ready for it. I don't think More Bands was in existence since 2006. It's been 20 years that this business has been. I've been registering this business every year for 20 years. No money made. But I've been registering the name, registering the paperwork to make sure, and then just registering, like, the taxes in a way that basically says, like, hey, we didn't make no money this year, so you don't have to touch us, you know? And so when I actually have to finally file, it's considered a hobby under a certain amount of money, so it can be registered as a business, just a hobby, and so you don't have to really file anything. But I'm pretty sure, you know, in the coming years, I'm going to have to start doing a lot of that paperwork, a lot of that banking stuff, a lot of the boring stuff of business that nobody wants to talk about. And
it's worth it though, man.
Yeah.
Like, really, I mean, something that I really wish a lot of a lot of creatives knew, and we talked about this with a couple different bands before, like when you treat it like a business, if you actually have a couple of things in your back pocket, it's really hard to not fuck up. I think it's really hard whenever you try to do something with like this childlike imagination and you want to do something that's fun and you want to do something that's entertaining. I think that that's all great, but at the end of the day you wonder, like, well, who's getting paid? Are we allowed to shoot here? Do we have permits for this? You know, what are we looking back on? What is it that we have to offer the community? What services or affiliates can we use? And those are all things that are worth looking into. The people that like in the film business, the people that really make the movie aren't usually the director. It's the people that call themselves producers. And a producer, by definition, if you guys haven't really thought of it that much before, is somebody who sees the project from beginning to end and making sure that it actually gets done. There's a lot of creative say, sure, that can be put into that, but they're usually the people putting out fires or keeping it going or making phone calls or, you know, handling the paperwork, writing checks, whatever that's usually required for that level of business. Because we all know, like, you shouldn't be doing things for years on end and then not getting paid for it, even when you have like so much content backing you up, showing that this is who you are and this is what you've done and these are the people that you vouch for. Everybody does that with their content, whether they know that or not, you know. And like, yeah, not everybody gets paid for it at every level, but it really doesn't hurt knowing the business side of things. It really doesn't hurt knowing like patents. It really doesn't hurt like having rights on things. It doesn't hurt.
Copyrights.
Yeah.
Knowing what you can and cannot do. I mean, like YouTube's a hard one because it's like, and Spotify.
Yes.
Spotify's a hard one too because like I play local bands and I don't know if anybody's ever thought about it, but I'm pretty sure that there's some users out there that are like listeners or bands that have had copyright hits from your own content. You posted your own content, your own song, and because you didn't post from Spotify or you didn't post from YouTube or you didn't post from these companies that have some type of lock on your life because you went through DistroKid or these companies. And I mean, and at the same time, these companies are very important. DistroKid is like the easiest way to get your shit, you know, like copyrighted or produced. That's what I learned at ACM is like, hey, if you need to get your music on the web and you need it to be published and you need it there, go under DistroKid because they will do it all for you. And so, I mean, there's certain platforms that are great. The problem is that these platforms will literally hit me, the person that's trying to promote you, with a copyright violation just because I played your song on an episode. And then what happens next? They pull the episode. I've had full episodes pulled from YouTube. You know what I had to do with YouTube? I had to go through their back end and I had to sit there and go, I have the rights to play this music and this is why. And I'm like, the artist that is on this episode is the artist that is singing this song and you are blocking me from being able to do this. And literally sometimes they'll be like, yeah, so. And sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll remove that copyright. You know, that copyright violation. And so, I mean, it's hard running shows on music because there's no producer rights for music, for podcast. There's no protective rights for certain things. And it's because the most of the stuff was created for, you know, radio and TV and stuff. They're running into those arguments right now. Certain companies they're violating FCC rules on their shows, and they're being hit with the FCC rules, and then they come back with, well, but we're a cable show, and you guys only regulate TV, and they're trying to play this game, this legal game of jargon that says that, well, you say this, but actually we're doing this. Oh, I'm a content creator online, so you don't have any jurisdiction over what I'm doing. No, those regulations do actually apply to the internet and do apply to these things, but they don't understand the law, and that's the problem. You know, they don't get copyright law, they don't get publishing laws, they don't understand publishing rules, they don't get any of it, and so they're just doing what they want. Which, in a way, I guess, if you get away with it, cool. You know, it's one of those things like it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
It's one of my favorite things, man.
Yeah, and
it's one of my
it happens all the time.
And let me put it to you like this: like, everything that John here is saying is 100% right. Like, think of it this way: the average police officer does not know the law of the given state that they're working in from top to bottom, but they're paid to enforce it. A attorney is asked and made to know the laws of their given jurisdiction, whether it's like family, business, whatever, from top to bottom, right? So they have to know the laws, but they don't have the rights to enforce them, right? But it's, in my opinion, it's better to know something and not need to enforce it than to have to enforce certain things and then not know any fucking thing about it. I think that's the hardest thing with so many different people. And I think the hardest thing for everybody, like any artist watching the show, is that we are all the kind of people that just learn from doing. Mm-hmm. You know, I saw an interview with Rob Zombie one time. He's like, I fucking hate it, man. I hate it. I'm one of those guys that has to just like ram my head into so many fucking walls until I find my way out. That's not what he said verbatim, but that's just like where he was going with it. Like, you have to just do things the hard way for everything in order to just get ahead. And I see a lot of artists doing that. They just do things the hard way. They don't network. They don't talk to people. Most artists I know make music, and then they don't like have a way to like protect their own shit. Mm-hmm. They don't have a way to protect their music. Yep. Everything that John's talking about is just ways for you to protect what it is that you hold sacred, which is the content that you're creating. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with knowing like the back end side of things. A lot of the times what I see in artists is that they feel like they're going to lose their creativity if they learn too much about a particular thing. In like a film perspective, if you watch every single movie that anybody's ever recommended you, and you go to film school and you study all these movies, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll become a great filmmaker. It means that you know a lot about films, sure, but at the same time, just because you go out there and you just try to make a movie and you've never even watched one in your fucking life, that doesn't mean that you'll make a great one either. I think that what you need to strive for is a balance between the two. I think that like Nike's slogan is what? Just do it?
Just do it.
Yeah, and that's a great slogan. There's nothing wrong with that. I would argue that you need to do it in two parts. You need to just do it, and then you need to study after and see what happened. And that's the biggest thing that I think that most people mess up, is that they do the work, but they don't learn from their mistakes. Mm-hmm. You know, so do the work. You know, create everything that you can. You know, write something every day, work on something every day, make music all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, if you went to a show and you played your first official live show, and they told you that they were going to pay you, and then you didn't get paid, you know, what's the lesson there? Probably should have discussed that beforehand, probably mm-hmm. before you did the show. Yep. Probably needed to make arrangements to pick up something afterwards, or at least know what it was that was agreed to beforehand, you know? And I don't think that that's anyone's fault necessarily, and a lot of venues bank on that. They hope that you're not going to ask them for a paycheck, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's not just venues, that's everybody, you know? Like, nobody wants to shell out money for something if they don't have to. Nope. But, you know, squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Yeah. So you have to be able to like learn from these mistakes, be able to have a system in place. Something that John's really good about is knowing like what to do from beginning to end when it comes to things like this, because he's studied like artist management and he has helped manage artists. So, and not to say that you have to get somebody to do that for you, which I'm vouching for you that you should. But it doesn't hurt to know some of the jargon. It doesn't hurt to know some of the logistics.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah. One of my favorite creators of all time is the guy that made like Fight Club and Benjamin Button, you know, David Fincher. His favorite saying is just hire the right people and then get out of the way. It's so easy that way. It's easier just to pay somebody to do the thing that you need them to do and just have it get done. And it takes a lot of mental load off of you as the artist too, which is something that they don't really talk about very often. Somebody told me, like, in the event of writing things down, I went to like a meeting one time and they said, "Hey man, did you enjoy the meeting? Was it a good meeting?" And I said, "Yeah, it was a good meeting." And he said, "Yeah, well, I didn't see you taking any notes. What's the biggest thing you learned today?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I've just been here for the meeting." It's like, "Yeah, So, like, my advice to you is, like, take notes of everything that you're doing. The last guys that we had on for the big band that we had, one of the leading members of the band was taking notes the entire time that we were doing the show. And I can't tell you how much respect I have for that, and like making notes on what you think is important to you, because I got a glance at most of his notes, and a lot of them were notes showing like, okay, we're going to this place next week, we're doing this, we're doing that, and that's awesome. I think being able to like just try to manage yourself, still get somebody who can manage you if you can, but also just try to take it seriously. I mean, I don't have any better advice than that. Yeah. A lot of people, I think, just want to be like, I just want to be a free spirit. I'm the talent. I don't want to be, held accountable for.
And that's fine. They can do that, but just make sure that you get a good manager that can do that. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne found his manager and ended up marrying her. You got to find your manager and or the person that manages you. Maybe it's a band member that manages the band. Sure. That happens too. And
Sharon Osbourne put up with way too much shit.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know too much about Ozzy, that guy does not seem like an easy one to live with.
No, and I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, their talent, their inner talents of who they are is really what's important, And so, I mean, I guess I'll leave this episode. I'm not going to do my little spiel about the donations. If you want to donate to the show, you can look at my Cash App on the notes, and you can donate if you want. But I'll just leave this episode with this, and then I'm gonna probably cut in the playlist after this. Is a creative mind cannot sit still, and that's something that all creatives have in common. If you're a painter and you're not painting, then you're losing your mind. And if you're an artist and you're a band person or whatever, and you're not in a band, and you play in bands your whole life or whatever, and you're not in a band at that moment, you're losing your mind. You just gotta do it. And that's kind of why I'll probably play that video before this episode, is because it's just, you just gotta do it. And, and not sit still, get out there and just play and get good.
It's what it takes.
And that's all it takes. And just, and I mean, it's a lot of work. It ain't for everyone. I mean, if you're one of those people that want to just be in a band or a person that just wants to go to open mics and play your guitar and go home and chill, and that's what you do, hey,
there's nothing wrong
that's your
with that.
passion, do it. But if you're a band that wants to grow and be successful and do that, just know that it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. I mean, the good example is TikTok. There's tons of people on there trying to create content. Facebook, there's tons of people out there trying to make content, and they're not successful. And there's a reason for it. It's because they don't truly want it.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And like I said, I had to inwardly look into that on myself and realize, do I want this? Do I want to achieve these goals? Do I want to do this?
Yeah.
And I've come to the conclusion that yes, it is what I want to do, and nothing's going to stop me. I mean, I could have tons of things happen in my life. I mean, it would take a lot to make me stop doing this. So, like I said, my creative mind's not sitting still. So, thank you for listening.
We appreciate you.
One, two, three, four. nothing that they won't do at our house party. There's a party in the house tonight. We'll be dancing in the yard. Baby, everything is alright. We got gumbo in a big pot just out back. Mud balls are simmering down. Grits and greens and rice and red beans. Baby, there's plenty to go around at our house party. There's a party in the house tonight. We'll be dancing in the yard. Baby, everything's alright. Alright, Tom Rock. Just you and me at our house party. There's a party in the house tonight. We'll be dancing in the yard. Baby, everything is alright. Gonna have a house party. There's a party in the house tonight. Gonna have a house party. Well, there's a party in the house tonight. We'll be dancing in the yard. Baby, everything is alright. We'll be dancing in the yard. Baby, everything is alright. Oh no, we'll be dancing in the yard. Baby, everything is alright.
Don't leave, don't you
till I grow old. Yeah, till I grow old. Yeah.
I wanna go out tonight. The world out there in search of right. I hear them calling out my name. I don't wanna be part of this game. I'm the last man on earth. Could things get any worse? Nowhere left to go, no one left to know, 'cause I'm the last man on earth. I wanna go out tonight, yeah. I wanna walk through that door. I hear them calling me tonight, yeah. The dead are crying out for more. 'Cause I'm the last man on earth. Could things get any worse? Nowhere left to go, no one left to know, 'cause I'm the last man on earth. Cause I'm the last man on earth. Could things ever get any worse? Nowhere left to go, no one left to know, 'cause I'm the last man on earth. And I'm the last man on earth. I'm driving around in my hearse. Nowhere left to go, no one left to know, 'cause I'm the last man on earth.
You said I told you who I was right from the very start. I said that's why I fell in love despite my broken heart.
I have burned my ships, I have cast my lot, bells of every chapel, the sound can't be forgot.
When I told you how you made me feel redeemed, you heard the words I said, but still you could not see. So I've sung you songs from the pit of me, while you're off with him, probably laughing about me. You're still everything.
You're everywhere, all the time, in my heart and my mind. So tell me now, tell me who you really are, even though I don't know how. I'll run to you, don't care how far.
And I'll tell you who I am. I believe, 'cause these songs keep flowing from this pit in me. Cannot tune them out. I see it everything, everywhere. All the time, in my broken heart, my haunted mind. I have burned my ships, I have cast my lot. The bells of every chapel, the sound can be forgot. When I tell you now, just set me free, I mean let it die completely. God have mercy, make this the last song for me. Can't you hear me now? You're only everything, everywhere, everywhere, all the time. You were my heart, now you're off my mind. You say it's nothing, but I know who you are, I know who it's about. You're such a stubborn thing, there's not a single doubt. It's only you and me, but it feels like everything all the time, everywhere in my heart and it's all said and done. And how many times can you fall from the sky before you learn how to land? I paid a tax on the war in your mind. Now I'll take an axe to the wall that you hide behind. Sometimes feelings are just an illusion, and learning what's real brings all kinds of confusion. Truth spreads like cancer, so keep your confession. I don't want the answers, just leave me the lesson. I flew your flag even when it got scary. You stole my armor to wear as your own. Maybe my heart's just a burden that's too much to carry. Or could it be resistance is the only existence you've ever known? Lead me to battle, then leave me in ruins. You know what you had, you knew what you were doing. Sometimes
brings all kinds of confusion. Truth spreads like cancer, so keep your confession. I don't want the answers, just leave me the lesson. I tried to bend, you only pushed harder. I gave you a friend, and you made me a martyr. Sometimes feelings are just an illusion, and learning what's real brings all kinds of confusion. Truth spreads like cancer, so keep your confession. I don't want the answers, just leave me. Sometimes feelings are just an illusion, and learning what's real brings all kinds of confusion. Truth spreads like cancer, so keep your confession. I don't want the answers, just leave me the lesson.
Does, screaming from the pulpit. The door is open, will you come on in? Will you consider me your friend? I'm not godless, just godless, they say. I'm not godless, just hopeless these days. What do you whisper back and forth in the front pew? Emmanuel, you think I'll go to hell like your father said I would over Easter? The door is open, will you come on in? Will you consider me your friend? I'm not thoughtless, just godless, they say. I'm not godless, just hopeless these days.
Take your time or time will take it from you. It's just a dime, don't let it take you too. Walk the line and they'll tell you just what to do. Don't mind your mind cause you don't have a clue. Everybody's watching zombies on TV, but they don't see the reflection in the screen. I hate to sound rude and cruel to me, but we're our own worst enemy. Yeah, we're our own worst enemy. Find the time or time will find you first. Run or hide, you must decide which is worse. Your eyes are wide, but you're riding in the back of a hearse. Zombified by everything dispersed. Everybody's watching zombies on TV, but they don't see the reflection in the screen. I hate to sound rude and cruel to me, but we're our own worst enemy. Yeah, we're our own worst enemy. Everybody's searching for the next big thing, but they don't see what's right in front of them. We're all guilty of the same damn thing, but we have to love through thick and thin. Yeah, we have to learn to love again.
A dream so real, the dark cannot escape, running so fast. It seems I've lost my way, so out of touch of body that I can't hide. Far from my thoughts, I lose my mind. The silver line in the trees, the rain is spoken to me. Don't I beg of you, wish you stay with me. My body is spoken, and it seems I'm all used up. All I can say is, so what a nightmare. Chasing our dream, the dark may never catch, running so fast. It seems you have never left. Will I ever chase you down? It seems to cross my mind. You have me running, girl, every time. The silver line in the trees, the rain is spoken to me. Don't I beg of you, it should stay with me. My heart's been broken, and it seems seems I'm all used up. All I can say is, oh, what a nightmare. Has been wrapped up in my mind, and I'm doubting myself now. I toss and turn, I can't sleep at night. Can somebody wake me? All I can say is, oh, what a nightmare. Oh, what a nightmare. My heart's been broken, and it seems I'm all used up. All I can say is, oh, what a nightmare. 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 La da da, la da da, la da da da, la da 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 da, la da da da. The world stopped spinning for me long ago. I belong to myself, walk a path of my own. Some men are fierce beyond their own means. They were raised by the wolves to be nothing but sheep. Through the darkest of my days, we become light, cut through our own shadows, pierced through like fire. There's only one place I wanna go to, all of the places I'd never seen before. Ooh, girl, you won't find me buying you pearls. And ooh, girl, you'll find me with wildflowers. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-da-da-da, la-da-da-da-da-da, la-da-da-da. Of my days, we become light, cut through our own shadows, pierced through like fire. There's only one place I wanna go to, all of the places I never seen before. Ooh, girl, you I felt la-di-da, la-da-di-da, la-di-da-da-di-da-da, la-da-da-da.